What is the too soon celebrity loss that deprived society the most? An oldie, but true as ever, Mozart. A lot of people assume cause he has such a large body of work that he did what he was gonna do, but he started at such a ridiculously young age that a lot of the early works are well written, but not necessarily great. He was really hitting a new level towards his later years' late symphonies, Requiem, etc. He was clearly moving up to another level of ability entirely, and then died of something that nowadays would probably be treated with some basic antibiotics. Plus, he and Beethoven would then have been around at the same time, influencing each other. Sucks. Humongous loss. Edit by request, he was only 35 when he died. There is a little confusion around exactly what killed him, but there is at least some agreement that with modern medicine, even penicillin, he probably would have been totally fine. Mozart's last completed work was the overture to the Magic Flute, which is an astounding composition. As was with the opera itself, which was famously playing to packed audiences when he died. Mozart had purchased a heavy volume in which he intended to record all of his compositions. Most of it is one blank page after another, showing that he expected to live well into the 19th century and had a lot more to write. His wife remarried and died in 1842, 50 years later. Modern biographers of Mozart have been helped a great deal by the fact that Constanze Mozart's second husband intended to write a biography of Mozart upon his retirement and had compiled a mass of documents and extensively interviewed his wife and many others who had known Mozart, but died before he had finished anything more than the introduction. The poor dude's grave lists his name and then the words husband of the wife of Mozart. Ouch. I think the new hubby knew his place and played the hand he was dealt the best way he could. I respect that, damn it, lol. Ha ha ha, yes, I respect it too. The dude knew that Mozart was quite literally a genius, someone who was already recognized as one of Western culture's greatest artists well within the dude's own lifetime, and that he could never, ever compete with that even if he lived as long as an elf. And I respect even more that he was cool with that to the point where he decided to write a friggin' biography of the man. We should dignify him with a name and a brief biography for himself. He was George Nikolaus von Niesen, a Danish diplomat and music historian who worked in Vienna as a charge d'affaires. He was initially Constanze's tenant 6 years after Mozart's death and, a year after that, her live-in partner. They married in 1809 in Bratislava, because Napoleon had seized Vienna. They lived in Copenhagen for a time, then in Salzburg. Niesen raised Mozart's 2 sons, and helped with Constanze's finances by negotiating with publishers for Mozart's work. Niesen had long planned a biography of Mozart. He retired in 1820 and in 1823 started the work. He spent 3 years compiling the materials for his biography, conducting many interviews. He died in 1826 and was buried in Salzburg. His biography was completed posthumously and published in 1829. Niesen had class. In his preface, the only part that he completed, he wrote, "There is a need for a lot of selection to extract something attractive and characteristic in the letters, which can be offered to the public, without harming the fame and the esteem of the name human. One desires not to, one must not show one's hero publicly in the way in which he portrayed himself in evenings of familiarity. By all truth, one can harm his fame, his esteem, and the impression of his works." I don't know if this would be my answer if I didn't just watch a special about him, but John Candy. There was all this behind-the-scenes stuff about he was just so damn nice to everyone and everyone loved working with him. Also how some actors and directors made comments about how he was really crushing his dramatic roles and that we'd be seeing him leading all kinds of great movies to come. Thank you for this. John Candy was beloved. I don't think there are people my age, 40s, who didn't love him. Most especially after Uncle Buck came out. Uncle Buck is an epic classic movie that will live in my heart forever. Hi, I'm Buck Melanoma, Molly Russell's wart. I'm in my 30s and I grew up watching his movies over and over. He was like an uncle to me. Steve Irwin. He did loads for animal welfare, great bloke. He had young children, just a really sad lose. His children are a testament to how amazing he was as a dad too, and overall as a person. Their shared passion for animals makes me feel so warm. Agree, they lost their dad and still turned out great. Hard thing to do, I know from personal experience. Not saying I'm great. Bindi speaking at his funeral when she was all of what, 8 years old? That takes something. It makes me feel terrible how much shit Terry took for that though, like she shoved Bindi out there and wiped her of any emotion. Jim Henson, easily. The Minneapolis paper's editorial cartoonist drew the saddest cartoon I've ever seen when Henson died. It shows Sesame Street, darkened, lit only by a single streetlight. Under the streetlight is Kermit the Frog with his head in his hands crying. So sad, and makes me think of the send-off that someone on Reddit suggested about the end of Peanuts, just seeing the feet of the characters, as adults were drawn in the cartoons, saying wah 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 because they all had grown up. Seems a perfectly maudlin idea for Schultz. I always thought it should be that Lucy actually lets Charlie kick the ball for once. That would have been better, more uplifting for sure. Buddy Holly, he had talent. If we save Buddy, we have to save Ritchie Valens as well. Waylon Jennings was Buddy's bass player on that tour. Was on the band bus when the plane crashed. There was an exchange between the two. I hope your bus freezes/plane crashes. That was obviously not literal. Waylon regretted it for the rest of his life. Imagine if the plane doesn't crash. One of the voices of outlaw country, which revolutionized country/western music, never has to bear that burden. The butterfly effect from that night is insane. Waylon also was supposed to be on that plane but gave his spot to someone else, might have been Ritchie. The Big Bopper, he had the flu and wanted to see a doctor before the next gig, so Waylon Jennings gave him his seat. Ritchie Valens was on the flight because he won a coin flip against Tommy Allsup. Sir Terry Pratchett. Yes. I still can't bring myself to read The Shepherd's Crown, because when I do, there will never be anything published of his I haven't read. I had been impatiently waiting for his next book each year since I was 12 and stumbled on The Light Fantastic. He shaped my view of the world. My personal philosophy is largely his. And so I've started sharing his books with my own 12-year-old. We are reading through Tiffany Aching. And when we get to The Shepherd's Crown, I'll read it to her. And GNU will continue through her mind. He gave me so much, it's selfish to wish for more. I still wish for more. I discovered him aged 10, and his books were my birthday or Christmas gifts practically every year until he passed. When I read the final book, I reached a certain point and just wept. 25 years reading and rereading his books, and then he was just gone. I don't think another famous person's death will ever affect me quite like his did. Please like and subscribe for more daily content.